Why does marriage have to be so hard? What is the secret to a fulfilling, happy marriage? And why do we constantly have to work on it? Why can't there be a simple way to be happily married? Is there an answer? Leah Abramov here, Marriage Secrets Coach. Please stick around, and I'm here to share with you 7 golden marriage nuggets on how to gain more clarity and happiness to any marriage. Any great marriage can get even better. Stay tuned. Marriage can be a mystery. However, what can we do as wives in our marriages to gain closeness, to gain connection? That is what we ultimately want. We want closeness and we want connection. How do we get it? Chazal teach us profound insights on how to get this. Okay, so the first insight I want to share with you is by Slovi Young Rice Wolf. The Nachash is the snake that brought about poison to the world. Interestingly enough, the word lenachesh means to imagine, or it means to guess, which means do not bring poison into your life, into your marriage, by constantly imagining or guessing what everybody else is doing, where everybody else is going, and what everybody else is getting. We have to stop imagining. We need to stop looking at at everybody else's life. Let's ask ourselves, what am I doing in my life to not focus on my life? The woman's life is the center of her world, is her home, is her husband and her children. So if she's constantly looking at social media to gain insight, where people are going, what people are doing, how much better her husband is, and how much better their lives is, and how lucky she is, then we fail to focus on ourselves. We gain poison instead, just like the Nachash brought poison to the world. We become unhappy, critical wives. And when a husband sees that his wife is unhappy, that's when he feels like a failure. So we want to make sure that we do not bring poison into our lives. It is not healthy, it is not good to look into other people's lives and constantly guess where people are going, what they're doing. Interestingly enough, in Birkat Hamazon, we thank Hashem and say that I eat from being already satisfied with what I have. In other words, you thank someone, you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you thank Hashem by saying thank you for this food, thank you for this bread. I'm already satisfied with everything I have. I'm not complaining, and thank you. And when someone does anything for you, from a standpoint of you owe me, and I'll only say thank you when you give it to me, you wouldn't want to give it to them, right? So you want to give to someone who's always grateful, or mostly grateful, and always satisfied and content. And that's the relationship with Hashem, and that is the relationship with us and our husbands in our lives. We want to live life in a satisfied way, right? The Eshet Chayil, one of the very main traits of the Eshet Chayil is she must always be satisfied in her life. She must never complain to her husband. Yes, we get overwhelmed, we want to criticize, we get annoyed. There's a way to do that, but we're human. However, most of the time the woman should be satisfied, should be content with her life. And we have to train that muscle, because we constantly want more and more all the time. Okay. The second golden nugget I wanted to share with you is by Rabbi Gladstein, and he shares that when you're about to lose control, when you're about to lose it, when you're angry, you have to thank Hashem for the opportunity. I know this is hard, right? This is a muscle we're training, we're trying. So just try. Out of all these nuggets that I'm going to share with you, just try one. Just try one this week, one today. Pace yourself in how quickly you want to do this. It's all about really just internalizing the concepts and just taking a small step forward. So here we go. He's saying that a person is very angry and they're telling themselves, wow, this is the opportunity I was waiting for. To tell this to my children, to show my children good midot, good manners, derech eretz, respect. And how is that? Is I stop myself, even though I'm so angry, and I'm composed and I'm calm, and the kids will see. Even if you were angry before, so mommy's always angry, if the kids say, right? And sometimes we have teenagers who make comments, oh yeah, she's gonna lose it again. Don't listen, right? I know it's hard, but the goal is you're going to be a much bigger inspiration that you do it this time. And when you do it one time, you can do it over and over again. And that is a great lesson to our children, because, we could sit and preach and teach our kids, but the most greatest example is by being an example. They will remember how they were at home, what manners they learned at home, what behaviors, and depending on the effort is the reward. So if you have a temper, and most of the time you have a temper, do it once this week, and you'll see the big change. You'll see the inspiration that you are to yourself and to your children, right? Mommy's not perfect, but she can do it. And if she can do it, she's giving me, a teachable moment that I can do it too, right? So we have to look at moments that we're frustrated, moments of frustration and anger. Wow, thank you, Hashem, for this gift, for this opportunity to show my kids self-control. And it's really a gift. And Hashem should help us overcome the challenges of anger and control our emotions, Bezrat Hashem. So Sarah Yocheved Rigler also states that when you are angry, any act of giving, one act of giving, is going to give you immediate connection to your spouse, right? Immediate connection. So let's say your husband said something to upset you, and you're upset, right? And this is totally normal. And what you can do to just mitigate the anger, to lessen it, whatever you need to do, you can do. There's millions of ways to handle it. But one of the ways she was suggesting is that you do something for your husband, you give him something. Now it could be physical or non-physical. So it could be a smile. It could be a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. It could be anything. It could be just his favorite snack. When you do that, automatically when you give, you lower your anger a large percent. And when you give, you instantly gain connection and you instantly gain closeness. Okay. Rabbi Zev Lev said, in order to enhance Shalom Bayit, commit to these 3 steps. So the first step is to get a book on Shalom Bayit. There's so many books on Shalom Bayit, Marriage Secrets, so many books. Any book that speaks to you, learn about the book. Now the second step is to actually set a goal for yourself. And you could say to yourself, wait a minute, I read this book, it's amazing. My goal is to be maybe more patient, maybe listen better to my husband, maybe communicate better, maybe to control my temper. Well, wait a minute, how can I ever be this? This is too much. This is nice in the book, but how can I be like this? So he says in the third step is you actually create a ladder, and you ground the ladder, and you face the ladder towards the heavens. You imagine a ladder, just like it mentions in our Holy Torah, how our tzaddik, the history of our Torah shows us that there was a ladder, and the ladder shows its way to the heavens, its way to the top. Now we have to have high goals for ourselves, high expectations, and I have to take one step up the ladder. Whatever I'm doing, take one step. Maybe for example, from 7 to 8 o'clock, I'll always have a smile on my face. That's just probably the hardest time when the house is flying, right? Like so much things are going on, depending on your stage of life. It could be that. Set one small goal. Now, it has to be with an action step. You can't just say, I wish I was a patient and calm mother, for example, and not do anything about it. Now, it's so important to pray, and our Chazal has so many sources how prayer is so important, right? It's like a brick in building a house and building some kind of edifice that it's actually going to help, right? Sometimes it's hard for us to imagine. When are my prayers finally getting answered? Keep praying. It's another brick on the, eventually it will be a complete structure. Your prayers will get answered. No prayers goes, unanswered. Maybe it's not yet. Maybe it goes to our children or grandchildren, but keep praying. At the same time, you must take an action step. What can I do to become that person, that goal that I set for myself? Okay. Rabbi Y. Jacobson gives us a profound insight about marriage. And that is, marriage is a relationship that is inherently unstable. In other words, it is meant to be unstable. We are constantly supposed to feel like we're falling apart and constantly want to drift back together, right? But that's obviously in a healthy marriage where you feel like, okay, I need more attention from my husband. I have to do this and this and that. We have to spend time together, or whatever that it is, because you constantly feel like you're unstable, and that's inherent. This is the way marriage is meant to be. We may hear of, oh, you know what about living happily ever after? We may think that, that's what marriage is really all about. It really isn't. Marriage is hard work, and it's the most fulfilling experience a person may have in this world. The Baal HaTanya said that a man and a woman is like water and fire. The relationship must be maintained, it must be worked on, or else it will fall apart. So it's not a relationship like we have with siblings, right? Let's say you don't talk to your sister for a week, you got busy, or your brother, you don't talk for a few months just because you long distance, right? That's okay. You just get back to the conversation you had, a week ago, a month ago. But with a spouse, it's not the same. If you don't speak to your husband every day, if you don't cultivate that relationship, it will fall apart, right? There's something called a happy marriage and a peaceful marriage, right? Peaceful marriage could be that everybody's in their own place, right? Business, it's like a business as usual. It feels like you're living in a hotel. That could be a peaceful marriage. Your husband has jobs, she has jobs. It's like, but a happy home, a happy marriage is when there's arguments, maybe there's fights, that are obviously healthy, and there's friction sometimes, and there's understanding, and there's listening, and there's spending time together, and there's happiness, and positive moments. That's a happy marriage, right? That's a marriage that's cultivated on. So in order to have this marriage, we have to understand that your spouse, your marriage is so incredibly powerful, and that is why at the same time there's a constant danger as though the spouses are going to fall apart. We both, the husband and the wife, must invest time, caring, showing empathy, and commitment. So it's hard work. Rebbe Yemima Mizrahi shares that the Eshet Chayil, right? When the husbands read the Eshet Chayil Friday night, and the children, it mentions the husband and wife in the beginning, and it also mentioned it at the end. And in the middle is all the craziness, right? All the busyness, having children, doing chesed and kind acts towards the community, and all of that. She's juggling everything. In the end, in the beginning, we get married. We cannot lose our priority. Our priority is our husband, and the husband is number one, no matter what. The kids need to see that. It is healthy, and it's amazing for Shalom Bayit. So when we forget about our husbands, and we serve our children first, and we don't listen to our husbands when he's talking, that is not a priority, right? He's not our number one priority in this case. But he needs to feel like he is a priority, and we need to treat our husbands as that, as a priority, which means give him your smile, make him something special to eat just for him, listen when he's talking. Now, it doesn't mean neglect your kids and neglect everybody else, but make sure your husband is your number one priority. In the beginning, we are together, and at the end, when the kids all get married and there's a quieter life, we will be together. So it's important that we cultivate that relationship and make it strong. And the last nugget I wanted to share with you, golden nugget, is from Jamie Geller. How do we work on anything in life? Is to focus on our strengths. Now, if a person focuses on their weaknesses, what happens naturally is they focus on their nature. So if a person, let's say, has a temper, So they focus on not having a temper. I'm not going to have a temper. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to yell. What happens is they don't encourage themselves. In other words, they're constantly reminded of their negative trait, and they start falling and falling and falling. However, if they focus on what they're good at and they double down on it, right? They really focus on it. What happens is naturally everything else in life, everything else that's difficult and challenging in life starts getting easier, and also you take care of it. It all falls in the right place. So, for example, if let's keep the example of being short-tempered, but the person is incredibly kind or really loves to host guests. So that midah of being very, having loving kindness will give her an opportunity to be more patient, more giving, and in turn she's complimented maybe, and that gives her the strength and the encouragement to be more and to do more and to be more of an example. Like, wow, you are really amazing. Yes, I am amazing. And to work on that temper, So basically, this will give you the encouragement. It will give you more joy, more fulfillment, to know that you are achieving something, to know that you are accomplishing something. And overall, it will give you a feeling of wholeness, of calmness, and of accomplishment. Thank you so much for listening. I hope these golden nuggets will be helpful for you. Please subscribe if you want to hear more. And I would like to appreciate the insights of all these amazing speakers. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming, awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.